Uh, so that's about using this principle, this process, interrupting this process by putting the tempting thoughts uh, out of our mind. Now let's see. How can we feel? Now we then the second step then is to put honorable thoughts, positive thoughts into our mind. Replace the tempting thoughts with that. How can youth fill their life with meaningful, honorable thoughts? Some ways.
It's a very good question because Jesus himself magnified the laws that we're to live by. He said, if a man lusts after a woman in his heart, it's just as though he committed adultery. So actions, like you mentioned, begin with the thoughts. So controlling one's life with good things, with character growth, and activities for youngsters with other groups. It's always good to be involved with school activities, extracurricular things of that nature that the school offers, a job for a youngster to keep them earning something and make them feel worthwhile. Different things like an automobile to keep them occupied with. And I remember Charlie Jones once said, and he's quite a motivator, well known around the country. Charlie says, you really grow by the books you read and the people you meet. And he kept saying it, the books you read and the people you meet, the books you read and the people you meet. He said it that way in a bouncy way because he wanted that to stick. If people remember that, they're going to choose to become readers and occupy.
Good books, not Playboy.
That's exactly right. Books about,
book.
about maybe presidents or people that have made a good impact on society, Martin Luther King and some of the inventors and people like that, presidents.
These are things which are honorable.
Absolutely. And get to meet other people because iron sharpens iron. People, one to another, sharpen each other. And we need to grow because all these bad activities are very immature activities. They show a lack of growth, a lack of interest in developing themselves. So activities in school.
Well, you're touching then on saying, set goals for your life. I hear you saying that the person, put the temptation out and start setting goals for your life. If you're a young person, you can plan what kind of education you're going to look for, or what kind of job suits you, and plan to get training, get education for these careers and for these things. So set goals for their life and make plans to pursue the goals. Fill your life up with these. And you mentioned a good one. I never thought of it. I was looking for a good way to say it. I think how to explain an example of what honorable thoughts look like. Well, you mentioned presidents like George Washington or Abraham Lincoln. If you read about them, their thinking process, they weren't perfect people, but they did demonstrate a lot of character. And it's honorable. It lifts our level of thinking up toward theirs. Instead of temptation, hard porn, soft porn pulls us down to wallow in our own self-desire, kind of a pit of self-gratification. And it's a never-ending cycle. It doesn't give any deeply satisfying results, and it can grow into sin and into crime. CBS News indicated a statistic that teens may be getting onto this about setting goals for their life, developing their talents. There was a poll reported on CBS News that there's been a decline. Teen fornication. In case anybody doesn't know what fornication means, it means sexual intercourse by a single person, an unmarried person, usually. Teen fornication declined from 54% of teens reporting fornication and being involved in it to 47%. That would be a drop of about 6 percentage point, which is a significant drop. So some teens may be getting onto this of replacing the worthless thrills and desires of tempting thoughts about sex with honorable thoughts, plans for your goals, plans to develop your talents. Now, Youth need excitement excitement also. Positive, honorable excitement, and to compete with the world's temptations too. Don't you think? And some examples that I have suggested with is children starting from a young age, or any age really, should spend, if they can spend time with their grandparents, that's exciting to a child. Children like to have that connection with their heritage, with their ancestry, and it has some meaning to them, identity. So time with grandparents, periodic time with grandparents when growing up, gives a child some honorable, positive excitement that'll be lasting. Um, Traveling to see natural wonders such as the Grand Canyon, or I remember Hoover Dam, even as a young adult. It was so impressive. I'll always remember it. It brings you face to face with the grandeur of the mind of God to create such beautiful things. There's historic sites. Mount Vernon is in the northeastern United States. Washington, D.C. has the Smithsonian Museum, and there's Williamsburg down in Virginia, which is a wonderful place to visit for anywhere from an afternoon to 2 or 3 days. And I know with your children, you've used summer camps a lot. This gets them out with nature and into a wholesome, positive environment. Now, you mentioned girls and the way the girls dress. Can you elaborate that on a little bit?
Well, the simple fact is men are visually stimulated. And when I say visually stimulated, that means they can be aroused instantly, whereas God created the woman to have, for sexual activity, much longer time to be ready for sex. And God made it that way because love is a factor that should be in marriage. Sex should be in marriage. God created it not to be in any other fashion, but in a commitment, a covenant relationship. And of course, God should be the third party in a marriage. And when the male learns to control, like you're talking about, learns to control the thoughts.
Put the temps. Don't let your mind look on a woman. Look away. Look at the ground.
Exactly.
Think positive. Put positive thoughts in there instead.
Exactly.
Developing your social skills, your conversational skills, or planning for career goals and things.
That's going to be a big step in the right direction of abstinence. But for the women, they have to actually buck the temptations that come along through the clothing industry, the fashion industry, where I don't know who, maybe Satan controls a lot of that, but the young girls dressing immodestly in schools or wherever they go, and you find these suggested in different fashion magazines.
Well,
and
by dressing immodestly, they can make themselves a temptation, which is not something in our scheme here you do not want to do. But there's another whole. I believe girls are being pressured under tremendous culture pressure by middle school girls, 10, 11 years old, as they're beginning to mature. They have these cowardly schoolboys running around, just taunting them about how they're developing and this and that. And why do 10 or 11-year-old boys do that? It's because they learned about sex from pornography through the music when they were 6, through pornography when they were 6. So this whole spin of sex, of letting the sex gene, of sex between this sexualized, hyper-sexualized culture we have is infecting our young people, and the girls are under pressure. I see young women even, with low-cut cleavage. They are making themselves more. Now, I understand they're doing it for pressure. I believe they're doing it under pressure, a lot of pressure. Everybody's under pressure. But they're making, comparatively speaking, they're making themselves look more like a slut than giving themselves a dignity. They're selling themselves short. They have to resist this. I see we got the 1-minute warning sign there. Let's lastly touch on what are some of the, let me mention some of the good fruits of rewards, more that will come from being a nation of sexual abstinence. Number one, what we've been doing will give us self-control. And a real man is about power, having it under control. A man who can learn to develop self-control by the process we're talking about will have character. I see we're running out of time, and we're going to have to close. We will also, let me last mention real quickly, we'll also have peace with God. For he may not judge our nation. God is no respecter of persons. We've seen the 9/11, the bridge collapses, mine disasters, the violent floods. These are indications that God may have already be withdrawing his hand from us because we turned away from him. Well, we can turn this around through abstinence and through seeking God. We are out of time. We've been out of time. I want to thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Bill.
And thank you for watching. See you next time.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, help me stand. I am tired, I am weak, and I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is all